Looks like we're live. Oh,
We are, it says it's
like
preparing to live stream. We
a
are
meeting.
definitely recording.
It says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. That's what I got.
Really? It says we are now being directed to YouTube. It's definitely looking very YouTube-ish. And there's me staring at the computer. Yeah.
You're listening to yourself on YouTube now.
What the heck is going on? Why
Do you have the YouTube channel up? If you have your YouTube channel up, you might be listening to yourself on YouTube.
I don't think I want to listen to myself talk for the next 45 minutes. I think I want to just talk. So I'm not quite sure how this works, but so we're working through some technical things here, figuring out one of our very first YouTube live streams through a Zoom meeting. And hey folks.
So we should go, huh? I think we're good, right?
We're good. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Welcome to the New Consciousness Now podcast.
Welcome.
I'm Jay Eaker, and Dr. J, you could call me if you want to get formal. But I am the owner of the BioSoul Integration Center in Louisville, Colorado. And you can find me online at www.biosoulintegration.com. And who are you, sir?
I am that I am. And in this form, my name is Gail Wolf, and I do intuitive work and channeling, and do a technique that I am beginning to call intuitive reprogramming for people. I'm located in Stockton, Illinois for another very short while before I will be located in Hanover, Illinois. And I can be found at Gail Wolf Rocks, or gailwolf.rocks, and that is the entire website. It's not a .com. And Catalyst Rising is my Facebook page, my business Facebook page. So this is New Consciousness Now.
I want to mention, I want to mention that what I do a little bit. I help soul-led people to integrate and embody their soul's gifts, so they can share those gifts on the planet. To give you an idea of what I do,
indeed,
at my office in Louisville and online, and I can be found anywhere. Social media, the web, the interwebs, etc.
The interweb. Jay is very gifted with his energetic techniques.
Thanks,
elevate your consciousness, elevate your life. See Dr.
J. I appreciate that. Have I worked on you before? I must.
You
have
sure have.
In the past.
You have undammed my river of chi in my body.
Nice.
You have a couple times actually, and
it's a veritable deluge now.
Veritable deluge.
I have experienced your work too, channeling, and I've experienced your sort of channeling. I don't know if you've ever done really a session or on me, but anyway,
I don't think I have done a session with you in energy. Well, we should let's remedy that.
Maybe we should do that.
We'll do that sometime.
Yeah.
I'll do some of my intuitive reprogramming work with you. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, well, as we have mentioned, this is New Consciousness Now. This is podcast episode number 17. Right. And today's topic, we're going to talk about to be right or to be happy. And we'll talk a little bit for, half hour or 35 minutes or so about
Right.
this topic. And then we'll break in and I'll do some channeling and we'll see what comes through with that. Often the
Right.
channelings are, akin to or expand upon the topics that we're talking about. And um, there has been a divine masculinish uh, uh, being that goes by the name of Garheloset. And it's been some pretty interesting information coming through
Hmm.
from that. So
Seems
very
like
cool.
pretty clear and loving and masculine and just clear. Yeah.
Clear, very clear.
I've enjoyed being in the presence of.
Definitely an amazing energy
Hmm.
for sure. Well,
So,
cool.
to be right or to be happy?
To be right or to be happy? That is the question.
You want to
And
start maybe because it's kind of your
sure, I'd
topic.
love to. And here's the thing: is he's saying your topic is it's something that I thought would be a great thing to talk about. Is right now we're really in the middle of a lot of rightness that people have going on in the world right now, which it's September of 2020 as we record this, and at this time there's a lot going on with COVID. There are a lot of riots that are happening. There are just a lot of things happening in this world that are very polarizing and challenging to a lot of people. And there's a lot of name calling, a lot of blame calling. There's a lot of projection that's happening, and uh, so much of this, at least in my opinion, has to do with people that have an opinion or a stance about something and are very, very staunch in their rightness about how they feel about whatever topic that they're passionate about. And uh, in this rigid stance that so many people have, there's not a lot of joy or flexibility or capacity to really hear all sides of the issue, much less a side of the issue that goes against or potentially contrary to uh, their beliefs.
Yeah.
And you know looking around, there's a tremendous amount of anger, a tremendous amount of frustration, and it's just boiling up all over the place.
Seems like it probably comes out of a lot of uncertainty. The uncertainty kind of brings it to the surface. Like people are trying to protect their identity. This is what makes sense to me. I gotta, this is what makes me feel safe or gives
That's
me the
right.
illusion of safety or control. Like I gotta hold on to this idea.
I grab on and squeeze with all my
So I'm
might.
gonna, I'm gonna vehemently, you know, try to, uh, try to maintain that idea in the face
Yep.
of anyone else's idea.
Grab on for dear life.
Right.
And that's happening all over the place. And and what's interesting is when I originally came up with this topic, it had more to do at the time with personal relationships because uh, I I've dated a few gals and been through some challenging times, and I noticed that in the moments that I was really opinionated or really stuck in what I believed or was really, really needing to feel my own rightness, it was often at the expense of my own joy because
Mhm.
I noticed that in those moments I was losing connection with the person that I actually
Mm,
wanted to be connected to.
mm.
And
Separation. Yeah.
yeah, it just created separation. And this realization, you know, though it be difficult, difficult to own, really, to just say, well, I'm not happy, but I feel right. Well,
Mm.
what is what is the goal in life? To be right or to be
That's
happy? What do you really want? You know,
that's anticlimactic once you get there. I'm right
I
and
am right.
and unhappy. Mm.
Yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
That's right.
I
So
won. I did it. I won. Oh, but I feel like
we're
shit.
we're all my friends.
Right.
And
Where's my
that's,
partner?
yeah, where's my partner? I
Mm.
now I'm single again. What the heck? you know?
Right.
So, just I got anyway, there was some big learning curves around that for me. And
Mhm.
and applying it to this current time, we've got a lot of people that are running around in their rightness and they're rioting over it. And
Mm.
they're hurting people for it. They're beating people up for it. People are getting shot for it. And um, just a lot of chaos over the rightness that people have. And I, I it's at a tremendous cost and at a tremendous expense to our ability to learn and grow with one another. Because at this time, we've got people that believe in masking up. We've got others that believe in not masking up, and or you've got some that believe that
Mhm.
the Democrats are the best, or others that believe the
Mhm.
Republicans are the best, or this
Mhm.
candidate's the best, and that candidate's the best, and you know, uh, all these polarizing things that are going on. Even the racial issues are tremendously high right now, and so just a lot of stir that's in the air, and not a lot of collaboration and cooperation for people to find common ground and really connect with and learn from one another.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's just where we're at right now.
Right.
And Jay, do you have anything
Mm,
that
I
comes
just
to mind you want to
think
throw
of
in?
I think of like you said, separation. Where'd my partner go or whatever? Like I get into this with my wife all the time, over little stupid things, and it seems like where we're stressed or like the other day she's getting a new computer or something, and I said Macs are like ugh, Macs are worthless or not worth the money or whatever, and you got in this little back and forth thing about who was right about their computer. But that happens with my wife and I all the time. And at some point, yeah, it's easy to sort of get into a back and forth, but at some point you just feel like, all right, I don't someone's got to go, all right, I don't need to be right. This isn't about anything important, really. But and I also think about there's just a certain level, again, it comes out of this, it comes out of it comes out of an egoic thing, trying to defend a sense of self.
Yeah.
And and people are kind of always, they're the average person, I think, is kind of looking for a certain level of happiness, you know uh have a certain job, have a certain level of money, have a certain level of health, and watch my Netflix and watch my shows on TV, and oh well, I'm happy. Everything's kind of a surface level, baseline level of happiness. But and certainly the times that we're in are going to mess with that, you know, messing with that baseline level of happiness. All right, I got everything arranged. Uh, life's gonna has a tendency to sort of shake that up, which it's doing right now. But
Considerably.
when I read Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, a while back, he kind of talks about a deep level of satisfaction and happiness that sort of goes despite external circumstances. It's possible to have sort of like a deep, that's kind of our inherent right on some level, as opposed to being tossed around by sort of surface level of a search for a surface level of happiness, but this sort of deep satisfaction despite what's happening around us is kind of our birthright, kind of who we really are. And to connect with that, he said, a good thing to do is the best thing you can do for your life really is to bring some part of your attention to your body at all times, let some part of your attention rest on your body, at the sensations, on the sensations in your body at all times. And in that, you're sort of connecting with the, deeper part of yourself, and eventually can start to see that, oh, what's going on is, the little bumps in the road here are not really responsible for my happiness. There's a deeper level of happiness that I can choose.
Sure.
So,
It's I've noticing more and more as I go through life, it's the stories that I create about my circumstances that are really the most painful things ever. And it has much less to do with my actual circumstances than it does with my relationship to these circumstances.
mm-hmm.
In that, and I look at any given point in my life, I've always had a great family. I've always had enough food to eat. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had, I've always had my health. There's just a lot of things that I've always had. And circumstances may not have always been exactly what I want, but and the stories that I've created around where I'm at and what's happening have always been just the worst things ever. Um, so so much is what we choose to focus on.
Right.
And I love your point, Jay, about bringing some awareness to the body, because the body has no stories about anything. The body just functions. It's a tool for us to experience our own consciousness in a world that's just here as a big mirror, to shine back to us whatever it is that we're thinking about the most. And
it automatically connects you to that larger part of yourself, your soul, or whatever.
Yeah.
That is bigger than the whoops in the road.
Yeah. And, the other interesting thing with all this is that, so much of the unhappiness comes from us not being where we think we quote unquote should be.
Right.
And therefore, in every single moment, we have an inherent desire to evolve or be more or experience something different than we are in the moment.
Right.
So,
Right.
if you just looking at the inherent nature of unhappiness or discontent, it is always a drive towards a level of content. And, what's interesting in what we're talking about here today is when a person decides they're right about something and that somebody else is wrong about something, it really is a stagnation point to where you literally choose to stay in your discontent. You choose not to listen to the other person. You choose not to hear the person out, and you choose to be right about where you're at or right about your stance. And it literally is choosing to just stand still and be where you're at in that stagnation. And so, you know, there's a certain level of stubbornness in the middle of that, if you will. And um, I know for me, the times that I have leaned into being willing to be quote unquote wrong or shown a different way, where I actually try on a different pair of shoes for a day and try on a new idea and do something a little bit different, um, I've expanded in one way or another. If I've just gotten my own emotions and my own stories the heck out of my way and just let me do something different for a little bit and say, well, I'm going to try it this other way, I usually gain something and it moves me forward in a certain direction. I had there's something to gain and I become happier. It changes my stance or my
Perspective.
my perspective or my positioning. And um, that changes everything.
Hmm.
And I think it's very simple, but at the same time it's also quite profound.
Hmm.
Quite profound indeed.
I agree.
So very, very interesting stuff. And looking at a consciousness perspective, if you listen, if you like, if anybody that's practiced yoga, for example, or any energetic disciplines or meditation, one of the first things that the teacher will say is relax into the pose, or relax into your body, or relax into the moment. They don't say be right about the moment. They don't say be rigid about the moment. That it's always
That's generally
relax into.
all in your mind, all in your thoughts, being
Mhm.
right, your defended sense of self kind of hijacks your mind and your thoughts to maintain itself, maintain its
Mhm.
position, bring attention to
Yeah.
the sensations in your body. Yeah, doesn't allow that to
Mhm.
take control.
Yeah.
Sorry, we cut you off.
Absolutely. No, no, that's
I
great.
was, yes, agreeing with what you were saying.
Totally. Totally. So, those modalities are all aimed at helping a person deepen in their awareness, helping them to
Hmm.
deepen in their experience or increase their presence
Hmm.
to simply what is. And uh, you know and often what is always changing. It's always evolving. That's the only true constant in this world is change. Change is
Hmm.
constantly happening all the time, uh, until, of course, you get to a certain level of consciousness where there is no more change. You're just one.
Hmm.
But let's look at the world. The world is not
Until
one.
then.
Until then, change is the constant. So, you know, that these realizations and this line of thinking, way of thinking, for me, has led to a tremendous amount of growth and a tremendous amount of shift and change in my life. And uh, I know that and I consider myself to be a pretty open person, and that uh, that shift and that desire and ability to kind of mold and meld and shift and change is certainly brought more joy to my life than the times I've been stuck in my isness or rightness,
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm. Yep. More joy.
More joy.
Should we do some channeling?
Yeah, we're right up on about half an hour here, so we'll drop in and do a little bit of channeling, see what comes forward here. All right. So this will take me just a moment to shift my consciousness, shift my awareness, rather.
While Gail's doing that, I'm going to be taking some notes too. So if you see me over here doing things, that's what I'm doing.
Mhm. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. I am Garth Halo Sep. I am from a time upon your planet Earth that existed before time was upon planet Earth. I was here in the beginning stages, phases of the creation of what you call Earth in your present day realities. And this is an intriguing time indeed to be transmitting a message as change is upon you in such a drastic way. From the stance of where I come from, I come from a place where change happens but does not happen. A place that is active but yet is completely still. There's something that we wish to talk about today and bring to your attention. Has to do with your topic of the day, which is all about change and stagnation or movement and stillness. And that is ultimately what you are talking about. Is you have upon your planet and have had upon your planet a certain trajectory of energy that had been established many millennia ago. And like a choo choo train headed down a straight track, it did as it was intended to do long ago. And the train has not deviated from its track. And you find yourself in a time now where you have run out of track and the choo choo train does not know where to go. So you find yourself without direction, and therefore change is happening because direction must be chosen in order for trajectory to be established. At this time, you essentially have no trajectory, you have no motion that is going to a particular place. You have nothing that exists for you other than wide, vast potential. And what you see happening right now upon your planet with the polarizations that you see and the desires to be right, as you call it, or to stagnate, as you call it, is a desire to maintain the old energy in the face of absolute shift and change. You have a certain section of the population which wishes to remain where it is. It does not wish to change. It wishes to simply be as it was and keep things going in the ways that things were going. What stirred this is a very sublinear, subconscious knowing that your trajectory and your track has been removed. When you stand in the face of all potentiality for the first time as a closed being that is used to being told where to go and what to do, it can be quite frightening. much like a bird that has been living in a cage its entire life. When the cage door is open, the bird may leave for a moment, but it will always return to the cage. Why? Because it's familiar. It's what the bird knows. The cage is home. You are living in a time upon your planet where the cage has been removed and people are unsettled by the fathomless potentials that exist for you. While others of you are more open to change and more open to doing different things, there are those who are not. And even those who are experiencing their own levels of fear. And the way this has been manifesting for you is in the form of discomfort and dis-ease and sickness and impatience and fear and nervousness and agitation. And these are all feelings that come up when uncertainty is afoot. And as you are aware and as you spoke about in your topics today, the mind creates stories, the mind creates fixtures, which the human then operates within. A story is a box, a story is a perspective that is confined to one individual's perception of an event or a time. These are the things that have fallen away. Notice the way that was said. We did not say falling away, we said has fallen away. Oh, yes. There are no boxes any longer. There is no track any longer. You have in front of you all potentiality at this time. Virtually every person on this planet, for the most part, with some rare exceptions, are still living in the boxes that you had and have established for yourselves throughout your earlier days of living here. You are still carrying out the old programs, not realizing that you have infinity to choose from in front of you. You are choosing the comfort of familiarity versus the discomfort of absolute expansion. So, if you are a thinking individual and reading between the lines of what is being transmitted here, you can understand that if you are willing to lean into being uncomfortable, you will expand. You will have the things you desire. You will manifest the things that you want. The time is now for those sorts of miracles to occur. There are no parameters any longer. There are no boxes any longer. There is no track any longer. You can go and do as you please, especially if you are able and willing to step out of the boxes which have held you so tightly in place for so long. This is the essence of what we wish to share for you. And there is one more bit of information that I use I quite lightly because as I use it, represents a section or an attribute of your current Earth's population. The I to which I am referring is the divine masculine. This is one of the great moments for the divine masculine. So much during this time is being said about the divine feminine re-emerging and coming into light and coming back to life. And in truth, the divine feminine has been there and has been intact for quite some time. The masculine, however, has been doing the dance with the deep ego. And therefore, the masculine, which represents more the isness of a thing, or the railroad track, if you will, whereas the feminine represents the expansiveness, if you will, is that the masculine is beginning to learn how to be active and still all at the same time, is learning how to move forward and yet remain the same all at the same time. It is a process of holding space that the divine masculine is beginning to exude and do. The key here is that the masculine isness is no longer coming from the place of separation, which is what created the darkness you see upon your planet. It is now coming from its isness, its divine isness. As this emerges, it is the masculine that is going to and does hold the divinity for the planet. It is the feminine that holds the potential for that divinity to expand into. What you have had is the removal of a divine masculine nature and the divine feminine saying, no, I will not accept that. And so you have had your feminine on the planet denying the masculine because the masculine has been so out of balance. The feminine, in its wisdom, said, no, I will not receive that. That is not what will take place upon this planet, and we refuse. The masculine, in its imbalance, forced itself upon the feminine and began exuding its will in an imbalanced way, and thus threw your earth into the peril in which it is currently experiencing. During this time, the feminine is reopening like a flower because it senses and knows that the divine masculine is returning. Divinity is returning. And you will begin to see the end of the battle of the sexes, as you like to call it. This is a slow emerging process. You will begin to see certain recalibrations in your masculine feminine dynamics to where there is not such a tussle over things. You will notice that the feminine is more open to receiving what the masculine has to offer. And you will begin noticing that the masculine is now offering rather than pushing. These seemingly subtle changes open the doors and open the flows to energy movements which have been stagnated for quite some time and thus created a tremendous amount of friction upon your planet with energies that truly wanted to be in motion but could not complete their intended cycles due to the restrictions from the feminine over not choosing to receive an imbalanced masculine. And so these are the things in which I and we wished to share with you today. Do you have any questions that you would like to ask?
Guess I'd say during the like currently the way things look, are there sort of examples of how that will unfold? How this more balanced conversation between masculine and feminine will sort of unfold in our world? Examples of how that'll look?
Hmm. In this time, it will be challenging to find examples of that which you seek to give you the answers that you desire. There are not many available that are overt in your news or in what you see on social media. However, if you begin looking around, you see signs of it everywhere in terms of the advertisement and proclamation of the return of the divine feminine. One of the essential missing keys in this is the proclamation of the return of the divine masculine. However, this is also an attribute of the nature of the feminine and the masculine, in that the feminine often likes to display, and the masculine more often likes to simply be. In a more practical transmission, we would like to say to pay attention to your personal masculine feminine relating. You will see during this time and the upcoming months, and what you would term half of a year to 9 months or more, you will notice a heightened friction that is happening in certain relationships and in certain places. This is friction that is reaching a boiling point to where it is desirable for reception and desirable for space holding to occur to allow the flows of energy to move again. In short, and in quite simple terms, you are experiencing a time of challenge and will have such for the time we have mentioned. And then you will sense, see, and experience a loosening of that energy. You will sense, see, and know a lessening of that friction. You will notice yourself getting along better. You will notice yourself having more patience in the times when you would normally not have it. If you are a man, you will notice that the feminine becomes more agreeable with you. If you are a woman, you will notice that your masculine partner seems to have better ideas or a better way of being. You become less critical, you become more open. These are the things to look for You will also see less of what you call name calling and mudslinging in your social media and in your news. These are things that are starting to fall away, as these are the things that represented the friction that existed in your society from a lack of flow of certain energies. It is simply reflecting stagnated energy, which you have called negative energy or dark energy. Is there more questioning?
No, that seems pretty clear. Thank you very much. If there's anything that you have to say to wrap up.
You are quite welcome. These are wonderful and splendid times. Do not miss them by numbing out or not being present to yourselves and to your cells, the cells of your bodies. Exercise. Take good care of yourselves. Get the rest you desire. And for heaven's sake, no longer push, strive, struggle, and experience strife in your careers. Take time to flow into your creative endeavors and enjoy them, as that is the energy that will take you to the places and to the things that you wish to experience and have. That is the new way of it. It is through grace and ease and flow. You may not see it now, but begin practicing this now, and you will reap the dividends later. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you, to be present with you, and to connect with you in this divine moment. Blessings.
Thanks, Gail.
Hey, man. Welcome.
Thanks for letting yourself be possessed.
Right. Possessed indeed. Well, cool. That was fun.
That was fun. Well, should we wrap it up?
That wraps it up. Yeah, betcha.
Yeah, so I'm Jay Eaker, Dr. J from the BioSoul Integration Center in Louisville, Colorado. I help soul-led people to integrate their bodies, their soul's gifts, so they can share those gifts on the planet. And I can be found at www.biosoulintegration.com and anywhere else you find your podcasts, your social media stuff. I can be found there too. BioSoul Integration can be found there.
And I am Gail Wolf. I'm an intuitive and a channel, and actually I'm a woodworker as well. Located in Stockton, Illinois for another short little while before I relocate to a little bit more of a southern location. I can be found online at Catalyst Rising on Facebook, and my upcoming website is gailwolf.rocks, which is very fun, a fun name for me to have.
It's fitting.
It's to me, it's just it's great. That's where I can be found online. Our next podcast will be episode number 18. And gosh, Jay, do you know what we're going to talk about next?
Have breaking down to break through.
Oh, that sounds juicy.
That sounds rich.
It's a nice dovetail off of to be right or to be happy. It's
true.
Break down to break through.
When you surrender to being right, next is the breakdown.
Next is the breakdown to break through. So
yep.
You gotta love the divine flow here.
Great.
So thanks for joining
Thanks for
us,
watching.
folks.
Yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Next time.
Take care. We'll see you next time.